Hello there, and welcome to the next episode of Have We Thought This Through? This one is about how tools shape thinking, shape tools, shape thinking in an endless kind of loop. And earlier you saw me changing or dialing in the frequency on a synthesizer using one of its control knobs. And here's another one. There's very little that we can do with our knobs. They start in a position, they end in a position, and we have to linearly move between them. Our anatomy has a complete kind of relationship with this thing about how quickly we might be able to move it and what we're going to do with it. And in fact, even when we start to think about, well, this one's got 5. What are we going to do with all of this? It's incredibly difficult, even with multiple hands and multiple fingers, to be adjusting all of these. And so our tool sort of gives us a range of influence over it. Interestingly, what this has kind of led to is that the way that synthesizer designers have worked is that they've thought carefully about what these knobs can do and how they should be designed to deliver the kind of change that you want to effect with your hands and with your minds. So let's compare that to, I've got an iPad here with a pencil. I'm just going to draw this line, pushing down. Yeah, I've made a brush that's very responsive to pressure and obviously to movement. Now we can see that this tool here is very multi-dimensional. What that's doing is creating a lot more range and optionality, and consequently my mind is thinking about what it can do with that range. Now with an Apple Pencil and Procreate, the sky's the limit. You can do an enormous range of things, and if I gave these tools to 6 different people, 6 extremely different outputs would be made. So we have a kind of cycle of influence between the tool designer, the tool user, the physical properties of the tool, the way in which the human gets to interact with it. And although this is often a kind of a physical realm interaction, it really is a mind interaction. What we're able to do with the tools enables what we're able to do with our minds. If we think of something like a to-do list, a classic here on the screen, as we start to use our task manager, we start to think of our lives as constructed with tasks, and we start to think, well, okay, I've identified a task in my mind. I will now add that to my task manager. And of course, at some level, it's all very quotidian, all very straightforward. At another level, something profound is happening with our minds. We're beginning to taskify our lives and our roles. We start to think about the way in which we can be more optimal, optimized, productive. We're starting to construct a version of ourselves that feels satisfying and productive because we have now created tasks and then ticked off tasks. As we start to taskify, we start to think about productivity in our own lives. And it seems so important. It seems like a successful strategy. Surely we want to be more productive, not less. But interestingly, the psychology of that prepares us for a revolution in productivity where our tasks have become identifiable through our own means, and our taskified lives become more automatable and resolvable in the technology of our next set of tools. On reflection, I am a gadget person, and I have been constantly through my life wondering about how we can use tools to extend what is possible around our expressivity, around our creativity, in the way that we learn. But I have started to kind of realise underneath it that there's just a little bit of sense of a complicity in a kind of technologised approach to thinking, such that the tools start to kind of invade our thinking apparatus, and instead of potentially expanding on it, potentially create a brittleness and a limit to the way that we're able to think. Now, I'm not all the way there for sure. I believe that the key to it is to kind of remain conscious of it and to think carefully about what do we need to do to be part of that cycle in the most humane and subtle ways, to think about what we really want, not just from the efficiency and productivity. In essence, every time we're thinking about a tool, we're actually designing new ways of thinking. So thank you very much for coming on that journey with me, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.